Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and today I'm doing a long awaited video on my medical binder. So this planner is one that is actually not even a planner. It is the planner cover from the Work Plus Life system, which came out in 2023-2024, but I have converted this to my medical binder. Now I am going to flip through this, but I'll just say in advance that there is a lot of personal health information in here, and so I will probably blur out quite a bit of it. So I am going to talk through what I have in here. I will flip through everything, but just know that this video might be mostly blurred out information. So I did want to at least record this video though, because I've had several people ask me about how I set up my home binder system, and I thought this would be a good example of how just kind of putting together your own system is completely doable. So what I have here, like I said, is my medical binder. It is part of 10/11 planners/binders that I use to do all of the things home management related. So it includes everything from my house and home, my car, just like family notes, things about us as a family. There is a binder that is just fun and games, different traditions and movies that we like to watch as a family. I also have all of my holiday binders included as my home binder system. So I have 4 of those binders. I have a travel binder. I have a Disney binder because of course we love Disney as a family. There are a couple of others. I'll post a photo so you can kind of see what it looks like. But I have an entire series, and this medical binder is just one of that series. Now in this one, of course, it's going to be all of the information about our family, and I will just say that it's not actually that updated. It's pretty much incomplete. I consider this a work in progress where I'm continually adding to it. I do actually need to sit down and really update it because I'm really feeling like I'm getting old, and so I really want to update it and have it be correct and pertinent to our life stages as a family of 4. So let's start from the very beginning then with talking about like how I set this up. The first thing is I took this Work Plus Life binder just because I liked to have the cohesive look for my home binders. You can absolutely make your own in terms of like just putting disc and covers together and just, you know, making like a label that says medical. That's totally fine too. But like I said, I liked the look of the cohesiveness of these binders. I did buy some stickers from Amazon that I used to label the spine, and you will see in the photo that I posted earlier that it's essentially just sitting on a shelf in my space. Now what I did inside is just kind of put together all of the different medical documents, papers that I have, and so again, I will have to blur out quite a bit of it, but I'm going to flip to the inside and just start from the very beginning. One of the first things that I put here is this sticky note, and this is from ages ago, from you can see October 2022, and what I listed here were some of the things that I wanted to include in this medical binder. What I wanted to include in here was a copy of our insurance, so our insurance policies, insurance cards. I wanted an ICE sheet, in case of emergency sheet, which is really just for my 2 girls. It would be the weight and height of my 2 girls, plus an updated picture, something from like within the past 6 months. So I wanted those 2 sheets. I wanted to include information about our medical providers. So it would be things like actual doctors, contact information, location, the practice, where like the name of the practice, but also including again like health, dental, and life insurance providers. So here I might have the insurance policies, but here I would include like the actual contact information. I wanted to include policy numbers for all of these insurance things, mailing, the name of our agent for the insurance policies, the phone number for the agent, and then as I already mentioned earlier, I wanted to include our doctor's information. Now, one of the notes here, it says repeat doctor info for contacts, because this information, the doctor's information, is also in our family binder, the one that's about our family. And so I have a section in that home binder that is just doctor's contact information, and so this would just be duplicated in both places. I wanted to also include vitals. So like vital records, so things like blood type, etc., etc. I have insurance twice. I do have here, and this actually is included in this section, family medical history, and so this is tracking things from my grandparents all the way down the generations, and just looking at extended family and the different medical disorders, diseases that they had. So just kind of like creating like a family tree of medical issues. Of course, a medical record and a medical history, and these final three you'll actually kind of see blurred out, but like you'll at least hear the talk through of it. So that's some of the things that I wanted to include in here. Now I'm going to walk through what I actually do have in here. And so the very first thing is I have this folder, and I know it's blurred out, but it's essentially a folder that I just stick pieces of information into until I can get to it. I will eventually replace this with the pieces of information with our actual insurance cards, because I would like it to be in this location. And in fact, I'm flipping it over just so you can see it. I do have my insurance cards, medical insurance cards, already in here for my two girls. I need to include mine. I want to include the dental insurance cards in here as well. So that's just being updated. And there's this one sheet of paper at the very front that I just need to move back here. I don't know why. I just didn't punch it yet. So that's essentially it. Okay, so getting over here then, again, I might have to blur out quite a bit of this, but there are 6 sections. And in these 6 sections are just various pieces of paper. So nothing in here, well, I shouldn't say nothing, but there is very little in here that's from like a pre-packaged or pre-printed item. There are a couple of pieces which I'll point out to you, but this first label I decided just to call it general information. And in this section it would include basic things like our insurance cards would go in here. It would include things like our vitals, and just general information like the height and weight of everyone in the family, or just general medical stuff that needs to be in here. So I'm going to flip through and show you what I did make. So FYI, these dividers are just like a random set of dividers. I pulled 6 from the cyanotype planner that was released maybe a year ago, and I just relabeled them myself. All right, and so just put on a little label and I just relabeled it myself. I'm not worried too much about this side. Maybe eventually I'll go in here and just kind of decorate it with stickers, so that way it's not the back of a monthly, but it's totally fine too. So again, in this section, general information, I've got a couple of things. Like I printed these like ages ago, so like I am trying to put this information in here. I just haven't yet. But the first one is vital statistics. So again, like the big one for me, I'm just thinking like blood type, but also just like current medical issues. So for me, I'm pre-diabetic. I would want that here. I have several medical issues that I just want to make note of here. And now that we're a family of 4, I really should have 4 of these, so that way each person in our family has 1 of these. But I just have vital statistics, and I'm just gonna like freehand all of our vital stats on here, on the 4 different sheets of paper. Okay, so flipping the page, and again, I have to blur this out, but this one says insurance, and so I've got our insurance policies here. And in fact, looking at this, these are old insurance policies, and so I definitely need to update this page. So that's on the plan, is to update it, but I know it's blurred out, but it has health, dental, and vision as the 3 insurance policies that we carry. And underneath each of the 3, there is the name of the company, the insurance company, the subscriber name, so who's the policy holder. There is the contract number for each of the insurance policies, the group number, the effective date of the insurance policy, and any additional information for each of the policies. So I just copied everything from the insurance card to this sheet of paper. As I've already mentioned, family history, you can see it's blank, but definitely want to go in here and update it from my grandparents, so my kids' great-grandparents, aunts, uncles, any medical issues that have occurred in our biological family tree, I want to include here. Right, and again, I'll have to blur this out, but I have a second page for family history. But this side, I started making copies of a couple of different things. So this is like just our vaccination card for COVID. I thought that fit in here in general information. And again, I want to put this envelope right here with insurance cards in this section as well, just because I feel like that's where it fits. Right, and then again, blurring this out. This is the back of the COVID cards. And then I have in here, again, like this is blurred out, but it's just old insurance cards. Okay, and so eventually I can just toss those. I really want to keep just the current cards in here, but until I run out of space, I'm just going to leave all insurance card type stuff here. But again, this is all blurred out, so I apologize for that, but it's just insurance cards and like the letters from insurance agencies, companies, for when we received the insurance policy initially. Okay, so going into the next section, this is medical history, and I'm pretty sure all of this will be pretty much like standard, but I'll at least explain it so that way you can see it. So again, just a divider that I pulled out of my stash, and the only one that I have in here is medical history. So one of the things that I was envisioning for this section is, again, I wanted to do it by person, so I need 4 of these. For each of our family of 4, but I would just kind of start at the beginning and list major medical issues and when they started, so like the onset of the medical issue. So for example, being pre-diabetic, one of the things for me was I found out when I was pregnant with Sophia, who is 8 now. During my pregnancy with her, I found out that I had gestational diabetes, or I had gestational diabetes. So that would be noted here. When I had Rose, who is 2.5, almost 3 now, I also had gestational diabetes for her. And so after that second pregnancy, I was referred to a doctor, and so of course I know that I'm pre-diabetic. So that would kind of be like just a loosely chronological list of the different things, for example, related to diabetes, related to any other medical issue. I want it to be the medical history, so there might be things that occurred in childhood that are not necessarily current medical issues. So for example, I don't personally have asthma, but my brother does. And so if I had to create one for him, I would list childhood asthma, but it's not something that is relevant for him now. It's not a current diagnosis, but certainly I would want to know that just because it plays into like family history. And so this is really meant to be a sheet for my girls to use to, well, first of all, for us to use currently. So as we're working with doctors for Rose or for Sophia, we have a very simple 1-page medical history that we can just talk to doctors about, so that way we can report accurately on the things that are happening for our girls and for us as parents, as adults. But also it's a great sheet, so that way if Rose needed to know Sophia's history and Sophia needed to know Rose's, they would have that information here and we could just refer to it. This is in tandem to the family history in the previous section, because family history is all of the extended family. Here, this is immediate family, which, you know, from a medical perspective is probably a little bit more impactful or relevant. So again, it's not filled out, but that was my vision for this particular page. And again, I'll blur this side out, but this is just the second half of it. And I will say that one of the things that I did, and again, I'm gonna have to blur all of this out, but one of the things that I did is I went through and essentially asked my pediatrician to, or Sophia's pediatrician, to just send her entire medical record to me. And so that those are all of those pages. We also have just like notes from urgent care and things like that. So those are all in here. I will eventually reduce this entire section and just reduce it to that one single page for each family member. So there will be 4 pages. I just haven't done it yet. But again, this is all blurred out, so I apologize for that. But it's essentially the request that I made to Sophia's pediatrician for all of her records. Rose, I did not do the same thing. I've just been tracking hers just manually, and I don't have my own and I don't have my husband's, but we're just going to kind of start from this point and just move forward and, you know, backtrack as much as we can, but like really focus on current medical issues. So that is that section, like some history, but mostly current medical record, just basically starting from today, tracking forward. This one is medications. Random divider again, I have to blur this out, but one of the things I decided to keep here, and this is really not super relevant to us as a family just because we don't have a lot of major like sicknesses or like any chronic illnesses, but I have just been storing like any kind of prescriptions that we go and drop off at the pharmacy and to get back, and so this would be, I think, much more applicable to someone who has a chronic illness and just tracking some of that. But because we don't actually have anything like that in our family, I just keep just like the regular like prescription tag, but I can, if you have a chronic illness, I can envision just like having a sheet and just kind of tracking what medication it is, where or when you take it, when it started, in terms of like when it was prescribed initially to you, and then just keeping a track record of like all the medications at once, because one of the things that happens, especially for older individuals, is that you end up getting put on more and more and more medications, and then things start like becoming contraindicated, and like they start canceling each other out, or, you know, they might just like make a problem worse. And so having a full list of all medications is really helpful, right? And again, for us as a family, we don't have anything like that. We tend to have like very short-term illnesses that need like a week dose of antibiotics, that kind of thing. So that's what this information is over here. But definitely can I can see like if you needed to track a full list of medications, just create a page, put medications on there, and just list everything out with when and where and how you take it. All right, this next one is bills and receipts. Again, I'll blur out most of it, but it's essentially all of the medical bills that we have. Now, I've been reading through lots of different websites, and their recommendation is to actually save things for about a year. So just make sure that you paid it, and after paying for it, make sure that you save it for a year. There's some tax purposes for that, but also just, making sure that everything gets cleared before, like that way you're not getting rebilled or overbilled for something. So this section is just all of that paperwork. And again, I have to blur all that out, but it's basically all the bills that get sent to us in the mail. And I put on the paper, like when I paid it, where I paid it, what the check number was, at that kind of thing. And as new bills come in, I always go in here to just make sure that I haven't paid that bill already. And, like it got maybe crossed in the mail. So I just make sure that I haven't paid it already. And then I just pay it and put that information on the new bill and just stick that in there. Okay, 2 more sections. So this next one is caregiving. So one of the things that I decided to do was add this particular section because my mom and dad, as well as my husband's mom and dad, they're getting older in age, and I wanted to basically track some of the things that we need to do to take care of them. And so, of course, for our girls who are small, they're tiny, 8 and 2, I'm obviously tracking their information in like the bulk of this planner or this binder. But for my mom and dad and for my husband's mom and dad, we don't necessarily do the full caregiving for them. If we did, I would probably create an entirely separate binder for that. But for now, because we're not doing a ton of caregiving for them, I kept it very simple in this section with just like basic notes. So this is the one and only section, well, one of 2 sections. This is the only section with like happy planner stuff. And so one of the things that I had from ages ago, like years ago, was a caregiving extension pack. And I don't even know if you can find it anymore. If I can find it, I will link it for you. But it's essentially a caregiving extension pack where there are like weekly planner pages, but also several pages that are just essentially planning for like taking care of someone else. And so an example of this is medical appointments this month. This is just one of the sheets from that page or from that extension pack. It has like 4 and so 8, right? There's a second page of that. And then this is prescription tracker. And so to me, this would work in the medications section, but because it's attached to this medical appointments this month, I just kind of put it here. Plus, again, as I've already mentioned, we don't have any chronic illnesses, so I don't necessarily need to see my prescriptions like this. So there are 4 pages of that, and there are basically 3 prescriptions per page. There's a pharmacy section and an allergy information section at the bottom. All right, and it's pretty much exactly what I said before, like, so it's name, form, dosage, for the person, I guess, which person is it for, beginning, ending, the medical doctor and pharmacy, and then notes about it, and just repeats 3 times. So there are 4 pages of that. Then there's another one that says medication tracker. To me, that's honestly exactly the same thing. So, it's the same information too. I think this is the same too, allergy information, yeah. So I basically treat it as just all medications, right? So there are 4 pages of that one as well. And then the back of it is a health log. Now here, I consider this like more so tracking for, like, for example, like if when I had gestational diabetes, I would have to track my blood sugar levels after every meal. And so this is to me just kind of more like that, where I'm tracking something that requires like daily check-ins. So this is what the health log is for. I personally think this would fit in better with like the medical history section instead of like being here with caregiving. But again, I didn't need this level of detail for any of my previous sections, so I left it here in caregiving just to have it all kind of together. Right, this one says important tests, date, doctor, description, results. And all of this, by the way, you can just kind of recreate it yourself. It's essentially just lines and columns, so you can absolutely do that. So that one is important tests, and again, I haven't used it, so I just kind of left it here. Right, and then the last one, before each of the weekly pages in the caregiving extension pack, it says health goals for this month, and there are 3 giant blocks. Now, I'll pause here, and again, this has to be blurred out, but as I'm paused here, just kind of like showing you half half blurred and half unblurred. One of the things that I've noticed is that the parenting layout from the Happy Planner, I think, might fit in really well with this idea of caregiving. And so I'm definitely considering purchasing one of the 2026 parenting layouts, so that way we can like talk about how it could be incorporated into a medical binder. So be on the lookout for that video as well. I really feel like some of it could be kind of broken down and used for caregiving or for medical purposes, rather than just using it as a planner. Okay, so with all that then, I have included in here a couple of things that I have printed from the internet. And in fact, all of this should be in a different section. Okay, well, it shouldn't, because again, it's blurred out, but like basically this is a worksheet that I printed out. It says end of life considerations, and this is actually for my mom. I actually asked her to sit down with me and just kind of talk through, and again, I can't really show you most of it just because she filled it out, or I filled it out for her, but it's a death planner, like an end of life planner, where we're looking at end of life considerations, final wishes worksheet, an obituary worksheet if you want to like write out an obituary, body disposal worksheet. These were just the pages that she filled out, right? Final services worksheet, so like what kind of services would she like, right? So that's all there. And then I also started using like just randomly just some planner pages. So again, I really think like a parenting layout would work out well for this, but I started taking notes on my mom's health during the summer of 2023, just because she had some like really bad health scares during that year, or during that summer. So I put those here, right? And again, I have to blur this out, but like these are some notes from an actual medical stay, like a hospital stay that my mom had, and she told me just to keep the documentation for that. So I've kept it, right? And so all of this is just caregiving, right? And again, most of it was blurred out, but hopefully you can kind of see where I was going with some of this. It's like basically taking care of my mom. And so I want to do the same thing for my dad. I want to do the same thing for my husband's parents. I just haven't gotten there yet. And I definitely want to get the parenting layout to try to incorporate that in here as well. All right, and then final section, final wishes. All right, so this is all about like my and my family's end of life arrangements. So right, I know it's kind of morbid, but like I have funeral arrangements. What are some of the things that I want to happen for that? And then here, I can actually show you this because it's not actually written on, but this is the death planner that I showed earlier with my mom's notes on it. This is from deathplanner.net. I will link that in the description, so you can definitely like download it if you want to. I left everything in here for my mom. I just pulled out the ones that she wrote on, or like we actually talked about. But what is included in the death planner, again, deathplanner.net, is a master preparations checklist with lots of things here. You'll be able to find this on the website, and I have like multiple copies of that. And I printed one in, you can see like this kind of brown color, and then like several copies of it in like just regular white paper. Here's the end of life considerations, and I won't read it to you, but definitely go on the website if you're interested in any of this. I'll read some of it. How much control do you want to have over your end of life medical care and treatment? Do you want aggressive care? How informed do you want to be about any painful or progressive terminal illnesses? So you can definitely like go through that and just kind of consider those questions for yourself. All right, the next one is an end of life worksheet. So this one my mom did fill out. Where do you want to be hospital wise? What doctor do you want to be at? Power of attorney information, life support. All right, so just flipping through this. The next one is final wishes. Right, there's different questions for things that you want to kind of check off. I would like my friends and family to focus on the good times we had together. And again, you can definitely read through all of that on the website. The next one is final moments worksheet. I would like a religious official present for my final moments, like you might need final rites, religious services, music, visitors, right? So lots of good information there. The next one is obituary. So again, my mom filled that out. So I have written my own obituary. I would like a certain person to write it. I would like a donation or another type of memorial in lieu of flowers. So just filling that out in terms of obituary. Body disposal. There's some really interesting things on here, like are you an organ donor, a tissue donor? Would you like your body donated to science? You would like to be cremated, embalmed, all sorts of different things there. So the next one is final services, right? Do you want funeral, graveside service, memorial, awake, celebration of life, family only? And you can just kind of go through that, and that's the last of the sheets, and I printed like 10 copies of all of that. All right, so I know that was a lot, and of course I had to blur out quite a bit of it, but that is a full run through of my medical binder. Again, my goal is to go ahead and get the parenting layout and try to adapt some of that for here as well. And again, this is a work in progress, so it's absolutely not complete. It continues to have information added to it as I start thinking of things, or as I feel like I have time to sit down and really focus on adding things to it. So you saw lots of blank pages because that's just how it rolls and I haven't done it. So at least I talked to you about what's in here, and so I hope that was really helpful to you. I am going to be really trying in 2026 to update this because I really feel like I need to have something that's at least as complete as possible for my children. And so that is my goal for 2026. But for this video, I have at least flipped through it and talked to you about what I wanted to do. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know it's a little bit morbid, but you know, we have to take care of business. You know, that's really it. At the end of the day, we got to make sure this information is somewhere. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, and until the next video. Bye guys!